Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Talking Packers with Steve, your host. Me, Steve. Excuse me. Going over week 16, going into week 17, final week of the regular season in the NFL. Then we hit into the playoffs. There's a few things I want to talk about here at the top of the show. I know we get into my, preview or review of week 16 and predictions for week 17, as I always do. But there have been some NFL news of note in the last couple of days dealing with Chip Kelly, Gus Bradley in Jacksonville. Also, uh, some other things going on in the NFL as well. Um, Redskins win division and all that other sort of things too. First off, though, I do want to promote Louie Tee, the Louie Tee Network. Support of mine. I support him. Hopefully, he'll be able to be on next week for next week's episode, uh, reviewing week 17 and then previewing the playoffs and how the playoff stuff looks like and all that other stuff, which I will be covering tonight as well. How the playoff board looks now, how it could be changed and switched around after everything that happens here in week 17, and how it differs. So it's just different from what it was last year. Which teams are in that aren't that weren't last year? Those that weren't are in. All that stuff as well. I'm dealing with that. But like I said, Louie Tee Network. Hopefully he can be here. Louie Tee of the Louie Tee Network. I will have his link to his YouTube channel in the description below this video. Um, I might not have it right away because it's a live episode, but afterwards I'll surely get on that and make sure that's there for him because he did that for me on his channel. In one of his most recent videos when he broke down the Monday night game actually, between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Denver Broncos. So that's greatly appreciated by him and by anyone else that might try to help me out and give my show and my channel a shout out, in any way that they can. So it's really appreciated. But like I said, the biggest news in the NFL being of Chip Kelly being relieved of his duties, however you want to call it, fired. Plain and simple. Either way, no longer the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. To me, it makes sense. It's something that I feel like the Eagles kind of had to do and get it done. And I find it interesting, to say the least, that I got done on their day off in between here, week 16 and 17, yesterday on Tuesday, and that it also happened before the end of the actual season. Now it was already the end of their hope to go to the playoffs, which makes me think all more, and I'm sure a lot of other NFL fans or pundits think this as well, or believe this as well, and that the fact of the timing of when he got fired, being yesterday, being Tuesday, being their off day, being after week 16, after their playoff hopes are dashed and all that other stuff, and the Redskins take the division and all that jazz, winning on their home field to boot. I think made me think that they wanted to fire him at the earliest convenience. How you doing, John?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Good. I don't know if you have something else on. I hear myself echoing.
Mm, Try now.
Um, I can still hear it. Anyways, um, John, what are your thoughts on Chip Kelly being relieved of his duties in Philadelphia?
I think the experiment lasted longer than I thought it would.
Do you find it kind of strange that they decided to do this before the end of the actual regular season? That they did this the week after their playoff hopes
No,
were dashed?
I think they lost their hope, and they weren't getting the playoffs. And they're like, okay, he had a week to think about it. And he goes, you know what? Let's start as early as possible, trying to figure out who the successor is. I don't blame him.
So you don't see it as a bad thing for a team, whether it's Chip Kelly and the Eagles or any NFL franchise, to fire their head coach before the season actually ends. I actually let the coach finish out the year and then maybe fire him on that quote unquote Black Monday after week 17.
I think in Chip Kelly's case, it's a little bit different too, just because you hear what a lot of the ex players say and how he kind of rubbed people the wrong way. He was more of a scheme guy that didn't think about the players that he had. and especially the people that he let go and brought back and brought in. I think that they kind of just wanted to be done with it. I think they had some good seasons with him, but then the college try on in the NFL didn't really seem to work out for him. I think he could be a good coach if he maybe thinks about what he did and what worked and try to maybe work to his players' advantages a little bit more than just the scheme. He had a great scheme. If his players ran it right, they did good. But if they didn't run his scheme properly, the plays just were busted.
Yeah, for sure. I think with him, I think it's his stubbornness to not wanting to do things his way and not anybody else's, like his way, the highway kind of situation and thinking. I
Yep.
mean, he got rid of the players that said that were quote unquote weren't a good fit for his scheme. Where in the end, he just got rid of them because they actually argued with. They actually said something. They actually had the cojones to stand up to him, and his way of dealing with it is just cutting them and having to go to the other teams. Now
Yep. I
Jeremy
completely
Macklin,
agree.
and now Jeremy Macklin being the main one, going to the Chiefs team that has, to me, in my opinion, has a good chance to run the table in the AFC.
Yeah.
And I know we say all the time it doesn't matter as long as you get in the dance. I think this Chiefs team can actually be formidable in the AFC, even
They've
with
won
Tebow.
9 in a row.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, I think they were they were 1-6, 1-5, and they ran the table now. I mean, that's getting hot, staying hot.
I think that has a lot to do with. I mean, it gives a lot of props to their head coach Andy Reid, a former Philadelphia Eagle head coach.
Yep.
A lot to him, especially being 1-4, 1-5, and I think that week after, or in that game after they went 1-5, they lost Jamar Charles for the rest of the season. And you thought, okay,
Yeah.
maybe the Chiefs are just gonna, just ship it in for the rest of the season, get maybe a top 10 pick, see if they can regroup, all that other stuff, and no, they go
Yep.
on this miraculous winning streak and could be Super Bowl champions. You never know.
It's nothing's impossible in the NFL.
that's that's for dang sure. I mean, us Packers, we barely get ourselves in the dance in the playoffs and we win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I hear you.
So anybody and anything. Now, speaking of the Packers, I don't know how long I'll be able to have you on. What are your true raw feelings of thoughts of how our performance was against Arizona there in the desert?
Well, I tried to get myself to laugh through most of it. Um, just take away what I could. I guess it was. I guess everybody knows it was beyond rough to watch. I can't imagine being a player um, in that game. Wow, just nothing going right. Nobody. It's one of those things that I think we had a shot after Mike Daniels made that pick, and then Rodgers made a big mistake, and I think that kind of was the turning point. We had a shot, to really get our crap together, and we didn't. And I think that was the turning point right there. And then it was quicksand. It was one of those things, once one thing goes wrong like that, it's just no going back, and we're stuck in quicksand there.
And Rodgers did show him in that, I think, that one drive specifically of what he can do with the running plays and everything that they got those big chunk of yardage, but it just didn't come during the entirety of the game. Of course, it just seemed
Yep.
like our biggest issue being the offensive line, and we lose another
Oh
lineman as
man,
well. It just gets
both
worse,
tackles.
and the timing's worse now. We're getting into the playoffs when you have the best teams in the NFL, fighting to be Super Bowl champions.
Well, and the Cardinals are even not even that arguably probably one of the best teams in the NFL right now. I mean, the Panthers, Patriots, whatever, but the Cardinals would have beat anybody that night. To tell you that.
And Arizona Cardinals kind of remind me of the New England Patriots in a way where they lose players and they just plug someone else in. Tyrann Matthews, now out for the rest of the season, and it seemed like he wasn't even gone. Whatever. Just that the defense being ferocious, and they're specifically, I think, even more of their defensive linemen than the cornerbacks showing up in that game. Maybe it's more of our offensive line issues and their prowess as defensive ends, but either way, they showed what they're capable, and they could be a team hosting the Super Bowl trophy when it's all said and done, the Super Bowl 50. Now, when I look at the playoff picture and seeing the teams that made it, teams first, let's start off with teams that were in the playoffs last year, not in the playoffs this year. That'd be the Detroit Lions.
Mm-hmm.
They got in there. Baltimore Ravens fell off the face of the earth. We still got Cincinnati. Pittsburgh still has a chance to get back into the playoffs. It just doesn't look likely. The Colts still have to win, and they need like 8 and 9 other things to happen for them to get there. They just need a miracle for that to happen for them. We got the Patriots gonna win the division. The Bengals going strong, still trying to get that number one seed, and so they're at least number three seed. Broncos, who just defeated the Bengals, now are in the playoffs. Now they have to see if they get that first round bye and whatnot. Seahawks, Packers, Cowboys aren't in this year. But teams that are in, the Minnesota Vikings, we have the Minnesota Vikings in the dance. Washington Redskins winning the division. Congratulations to all the Washington Redskins fans out there. Your team, NFC East champions, especially who you face there. Arizona's going back. Carolina's going back, only this time they're going back as a favorite in the NFC, previously being undefeated. Now, so looking at what the playoffs will look like in the NFL, there, John, what are your what are your thoughts on how everything can shake up? Who do you think could be a favorite, or who could be that out of nowhere team that could be at Super Bowl 50?
I think you already said it. I think it would be the Chiefs. I think that's the simplest one to go with because they're quietly having success and they had those 9 wins in a row. That's what you need to get into the playoffs. And even you got a 3-game win streak, 5-game, whatever. If you get hot, and they've been playing real well, they played some quality teams.
Mm-hmm.
They're the team I could see doing it. You look at teams like the Vikings and stuff where they've had not an easy schedule, but a little bit easier one perhaps than others. And people say they're getting hot, but I'd say that the Chiefs are the guys that are actually the ones getting hot, playing good teams, get right into the playoffs.
And I think for me in the NFC, I think that team can actually be the Washington Redskins. I think the way that they've been playing, them winning that division the way that they did, I think that team can go far. Maybe get to that Super Bowl. Maybe it could be the Washington Redskins versus the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl 50. That might not be the sexiest or coolest or what the NFL would want as their Super Bowl. I think they would want maybe Arizona Cardinals, New England Patriots, Packers against the Cincinnati Bengals, maybe something like that. But the Redskins and the Chiefs both, in that momentum. That's what I mean, the momentum. If you have a momentum going into the playoffs, that's even better than being a division champion. So
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on my thoughts there about the Redskins? Do you think they?
I think they have the team to do it. My big question mark there, I think, is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I understand that. It just seems like each and every week he's been proving people wrong that he can do it, but you never know. The playoffs he could not show up. But I think
Yeah,
that
well, it's one of those too. I mean, how many times has he played a playoff game? It could be in his favor. The ignorance is bliss, or he might not have the muster to get deep into a playoff game, get into that prime time. A lot of pressure, win it or you're out kind of thing. So, it could come down to something like that with him.
yeah, that's true. I
But
just
I had a lot of people. I got really annoyed by all the Packer fans saying they'd rather lose the division and go play the Redskins, which I think is complete garbage. For that reason alone, the Redskins are actually, they've been playing really well lately. I'd rather play the Vikings again. I'd rather see the Seahawks again. We seem to play well against those two teams, and what the heck? Let's ride the wave and let's go with what history's shown us this season.
I agree that 100%. I'd rather want that to happen. I know I saw something before the game. I don't know if you saw it too, but they were saying that what could happen is we face the Vikings we were at Arizona, then at home against Minnesota, and then what could happen for the playoffs is that we're home against Minnesota, so two in a row, kind of like I think it was a couple of years ago. Excuse me, that situation happened, and then we could be at Arizona. So in 4 weeks we face the same two teams. If that happens, then maybe I don't know. Then maybe hopefully we don't get crushed again in Arizona, but maybe it'll be a more competitive game. But either way, then that's kind of how it could play out. Either way, we just still have to shore up some things on our team, obviously, and otherwise we're not going to go anywhere against anybody, whether it's the Vikings or anybody else. I say what people want to say about the Vikings. They're still good. They've improved much since last year, obviously, in the record and in the play. That don't want to overlook the Vikings. The Packer fans. You know who I'm talking to. Um, about that as well. I mean, yeah, I'm all about my team, but you gotta respect your opponents. So the Vikings, they can get it done. They can beat us here in Week 17, be the NFC North champions. Or they can beat us in the first round in the playoffs. And for some of us, we won't see it coming. But for me, I saw it coming, and I could respect it happening. I mean, obviously, I want my Packers to go far, but the Vikings, any team, this season seems like it's going to be the most chaotic in the playoffs. And anybody from 1 to 6 can get to that Super Bowl in the NFC. Maybe a little less in the AFC, but still, you never know. Um, but all you gotta do is win. It's a 1 week season when you get into the playoffs. So as long as you're in
Yeah.
advance, you have a chance to be champions.
Yep. And I think you got to win. You got to win the last game of the season just to have a positive going in. I mean, look at the Packers when we were 15-1 against the Chiefs, and everyone's like, "Oh, it doesn't matter, it's fine." It's like, no, losing that game that can just kill it right there. You're on that high the whole season. You lose one, and then you're one and done in the playoffs again. We're already in. People are like, "Oh, can't change this or that. I'd rather play this team." Just win a game, win it in a good fashion. Have receivers get open, catch balls, have a run game that doesn't look like one guy's overweight and one guy's eating buttered popcorn. Get through a game and look good, and then play your playoff game against the Seahawks or the Vikings. Beat them in a good fashion, and then you know what? Then everybody's going to shut their mouth, and they're like, okay, it's a playoff team.
Right, especially from what we did in Arizona, we definitely need to get something positive, getting a win, or at least to better play from our offensive line that we can feel that we can get
Yep.
far into the playoffs at all.
Yep. And there's
Because
plenty of teams that history shows us that they get throttled by 30 points or 40 points in a game, and it's one of those things. Some team just has your number, and they're on a high, and you're on a low, and that's it. I mean, argument. The Packers have been on a low for a while, I'd say, but only time will tell. I'm going to be optimistic because all I want, got to have hope. I'm not just going to be like, well, let's just pack it in and get a better draft pick, because at this point, we're not getting a good draft pick. We're at the top of the order again, as always. So that's how it's going to be.
yeah, the only bad thing about being a good team, you're at the bottom of the draft each year. But
Yeah.
I
And
agree
speaking
that
of the draft, look at the Cardinals, look at the Panthers, look at the Chiefs, where they've been in the draft order the last 5-6 years, and they've had look at the Cardinals, how many guys that they've picked up in the last 4 or 5 drafts, and those are their starters, their stars right now, and they've been able to pick third pick, fifth pick, sixth pick, eighth pick. And that's coming around for them. That's what the draft is for. It's just that there's a few 3-4 teams right now. They're surprising people, and they shouldn't be. They've been able to draft high, and they've drafted well, and they're doing a good job. The Packers have been drafting at the bottom of the order for a long time, and we do a decent job. But suddenly we figured out, oh crap, all the receivers that we happen to draft don't really have the talent to just jump in. They need 3 years. They need 4 years behind Jordy Nelson, behind Randall Cobb. Cobb's a slot receiver. He's not an outside receiver. He doesn't have the speed. Jordy's the guy that burned the field. Aberdeus could be that guy. Janet, all these guys could be the guy, but they got thrown into a spot they're not ready for, and people have too high expectations. Devontae Adams, great receiver. He got thrown into a starting position that he was maybe a number 3 or maybe a number 4 receiver. Now he has to be a number 2 or a number 1. He's not ready.
yeah, and everybody just expected, especially Aberderis, who even got into playing action, thinking that you could just throw him out there and things are right because you have Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
Got to
Aaron
catch the
Rodgers is
ball.
great. He's awesome. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But still, as wide receivers, to your job, like you said, catch the ball. Learning the routes, having a
Timing.
core and time. That's what I was gonna say. Timing and core with Aaron.
Yep.
It just doesn't happen like this. It doesn't happen with the snap of a
And
finger.
he doesn't throw the ball soft. He puts it in a tight spot. He does those over the shoulder throws that it looked easy on TV because these guys are the best in the world at it. Like, guys got to realize that, maybe if I go out on the field with Aaron Rodgers and he throws me 10 over the shoulder throws, I'll be lucky if I can catch one because I'm slow and I don't have great hands. But even if I'm a pro wide receiver, it's not something you're going to catch every single time unless you are one of those top tier wide receivers. And how many teams have a top tier wide receiver that's going to make that catch every time? You can count them on one hand, maybe 2 hands.
Yeah, and like I was trying to say before as well, I don't want to lose here, and then then going into the playoffs with 2-game losing streaks, and going into Washington, let's say that buzzsaw on that team, like I said, improving and on a streak in their own right, just winning the NFC East in that big game against Philadelphia on the road as well. You don't know what happens then. Then we could be 1-0, one and done.
Yeah, which, I mean, people are like, oh, it's our MO. We go one and done. It's like, well, there's not a better time to not go one and done. I mean, we've done it enough. Let's get our crap together and surprise some people. But again, I'm not going to be surprised if we do go one and done. But it's just one of those things that it's football. You doesn't matter who you play. The crappiest team in the NFL can beat the best team. Everyone's like, oh, the Rams will never beat the Seahawks. Oh, well, they beat them once. Oh, they'll never beat them twice. The Seahawks are red hot. Look what happened. So I mean, defenses can still win you games. You can score 20 points and still win a game. You just got to get some lucky breaks, some fumbles go your way, or some picks. Score some points on defense, get a good run back on special teams. It's just one of those things. If it all comes together at the right time, anybody can win. Our offense could score 7 points, and we could still win a game because our special teams scored, defense scored. You never know. It's all those things that you can't account for. We don't have the best offense in the NFL, but if the other team's defense has a lucky break or their special teams runs it back or whatever, it doesn't matter how good your offense is.
Yeah. I was also going to say that for Arizona in their draft picks, they got that rookie David Johnson in the third round, being a beast there in the running
Yeah,
game for the team.
and he was a terrible pick. A lot of people said he wasn't going to live up to expectations. Well, look what happened.
Yeah, it's amazing what people think is thinking that, oh, this pick is going to be good, and ends up
Yep.
not. This is not, and it ends up being, because you just never know. It's always subjective.
Yep. And that's, I guess, it also confuses me. I know when I talk about Eddie Lacy, we see him in a breakout year last year, a lot of high expectations this year. And, I'm not going to lie, he looks big. Like, he looks bigger than he normally is. I don't know if it's because he's got rib issues, he's wearing padding or what, but I mean, he looks bigger, but he still runs. When he gets those big runs, he looks as fast as he was. He looks like he can move like he did. So it kind of makes you wonder what's going on there, especially with, the whole benching and curfew and the whole motivation for football. And just that, some of those things are kind of the question marks. Maybe we have too many maybe those young wide receivers, those whole things we've talked about with video games and, the dedication and stuff. What is kind of going on with this team? It's a great question that I don't think will ever truly be answered. We can speculate all we want and listen to ESPN and, we can listen to Schefter and all of his great tweets or something, but it's something that will never get answered. And I know a lot of guys have that question, is there something else going on why this team isn't playing well? And we have Aaron Rodgers, the best quarterback in the NFL. We have receivers that aren't getting open, and there's problem number one. We have a running game that's lethargic, so it doesn't matter. So we have defenses that are daring us to try and throw it deep. They're daring us to throw the ball because they go, we'll just stop Eddie Lacy or we'll stop Starks or Crockett or whoever's on the ball. And Rodgers will make a few throws, but I think they can bank on us dropping some passes and stuff right now. So it's just one of those, I think our guys got to suck it up and just play better football and, play to their ability. If they can't run, they can't outrun guys and beat them, you're going to have to get a little shifty in your routes and, maybe do a little push-offs here and there. And you got to play to the officials a little bit too, which we see time and time again from wide receivers. This guy pushes off, he pushes off. Try to win some scrums and just play, dirty old-fashioned football.
I think that's our issue too. We try to, establish that running game early in a game, or it seems like we do, or try to do, and then when they stuff us, then we can't throw it deep. Not just because they can get there and drink a couple of passes, but also because our offensive line is such a mess that they can just throw it deep because
it's a perfect
they can
storm.
get our quarterback quicker. They're just going to get a sack.
Yep. It's a perfect storm. And I'm going to have to leave you with this one, but It is a perfect storm. I completely agree with you. It's our linemen are banged up so they can get to Rodgers. We can't run the ball very well because their running backs just aren't maybe performing as well, but there aren't as many holes there for them. And then they can cover the pass because their wide receivers aren't as good at getting off their blocks because they're young. It's a perfect storm of, sometimes we look great. It's because all of a sudden everything clicked, but it's just not everybody's there yet. We're not on the same page, and just hope and pray that somehow they can get it done for 5 games in a row here, 4 out of 5 games in a row.
For sure. Well, thank you for stopping by for your short time you have. Take care.
Yeah,
Happy
have
New
a good
Year.
night, man. Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thanks, bud.
Go Pack, go.
Go Pack. And thanks to John stopping by here, and you can all follow him on Twitter at PackerFan Stempy, PackerFan STEMPY on Twitter at PackerFan Stempy. Very very knowledgeable, smart individual, fellow Packer fan, and it's always great to have him on the program, as well as my group with Main Event Marks as well, talking some NFL. Now, the last thing I was talking about before he did join and enjoyed his takes on some things was the playoff seedings and everything. Week 17, it seems like for the first time in forever, maybe not forever, but it just feels that way with time being subjective. But feels like the first time in forever. Week 17 is going to actually mean something in most of the games, most of the NFL, most of the teams with good players. And if you're still in fantasy football, and with the final week of fantasy football, there are some leagues that go into week 17. You actually can be okay with playing your starters, playing um, most of them. The only team that can 100% rest players if they wanted to, and we don't even know if that's going to happen, is the Washington Redskins. Whether they win, whether they lose, they're not going up or down. No, excuse me, up or down on the seedings. They're always going to stay at number 4. You know, being division champions and all that stuff. So if they wanted to, they could rest their team. Louie Tee, his team, the Washington Redskins, are the only team it seems like. Maybe there's another one, but that can 100% rest their starters because no matter what happens in their game, they're not. Their needle is not moving up or down there on the playoff board. They're staying right where they are. But all the other ones, they have something to fight for. New England, Denver, and Cincinnati are trying to get that number 1 seed. The Colts are just trying to scratch and claw to get to the playoffs. Period. Me, and his Indianapolis Colts are trying to see if they can even get to. They need like I said, like I was saying earlier, like a miracle to happen for them in the playoffs. They need a lot of things to happen, and one of them is a Jets loss. I don't see that happening, or a Patriots loss. Obviously, I'll be giving my predictions for Week 17 coming up here shortly, but that's what's going on. A lot of teams fighting for playoff positions, fighting to just get into the playoffs, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, which had a great chance last week to shore up that by facing the Baltimore Ravens team that was on, by the end of that game, their third quarterback, and they managed to lose it. I mean, it happens. That's why they say, that's why they play the games. And so now Pittsburgh has to fight themselves to get into the postseason. We got the NFC is all locked as in the in the framework of the 6 teams in the NFC, 4 division champions, 2 wild cards, those 6 teams. But now the shifting and the paradigm of where teams are going to be seated, they're still up for grabs, depending on what happens in Week 17. Green Bay Packers, me and John, our team, the Green Bay Packers. Our game against the Minnesota Vikings got flexed to Sunday Night Football, so that's awesome and cool to have it the last game of the season and to have it for Sunday Night Football. The final Sunday Night Football of the season, of course, as well, because it means the most of all the games, at least, well, for me as a fan of the Packers and in general for all the NFL. Depending on what other, with all the other games going on. So we got the Packers against the Minnesota Vikings. Bridgewater versus Rodgers. We got the defensive line of the Vikings against our offensive line. I think that's going to be the biggest matchup, more than any other matchups going on in our game. But it's been flexed 7 p.m. or 7:30 start. Sunday Night Football. Go Pack, go. Hopefully we can get that division. Because if we don't, like I was talking to John, then we're going the 2-game losing streak going to Washington. Buzzsaw there, and we could be one and done. To the Redskin team, they, talk about maybe they are a team of destiny. Maybe they'll get to the Super Bowl, maybe not. But they sure as heck look like a team, and they actually do look like a team that can make the Super Bowl. And I understand fans' concerns about Kirk Cousins. Can he really do it? Can he actually play this caliber of football in the postseason as he has here late in the regular season? We'll see. But I don't know. I mean, for Packer fans, some are on either side of the fence where they want us, being okay. Oh, if we can't lose this game, okay, we'll just go, win on the road, or hey, we want to win this division. Well, you have to see. And hopefully our team, along with other teams that are trying to fight into the playoffs, can have that moment like Kirk Cousins, that now best moment of the season kind of thing, where when he after they win one of those games, doing the "Do you like that?" kind of thing. We need a performance like that. Do you like that? Us actually taking it to the Vikings here in Week 17. show the NFL, show ourselves even more, so that we can play the cowboy ball that I know we can, and we are worthy in a way to be in the playoffs. And hopefully we can get stuff done in the playoffs, make a run, get to the Super Bowl, and see who we face there. I know our prediction before the start of the regular season was the Packers and Patriots. We'll see if that holds true. If that is the case, now let's just go over here. Week 16 of the NFL season. Redskins defeating the Eagles Saturday Night Football on the NFL Network, 38-24 to win the NFC East. So again, congratulations to Louie Tees. Washington Redskins 2015 NFC East champions. The Panthers losing their very first game. They lose again, and Arizona wins this week against Seattle. Arizona can get the number one overall spot. That would be interesting if Arizona took the top spot, because then all of a sudden Arizona will definitely be the front runners at the end already with their performance against us last week at home. I mean, we always say, and I've said, and others, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Well, that best quarterback, or a very good quarterback, or whatever, got humbled in a way against that Arizona defense. Now, yeah, it's part of our offensive line issues, but that's also how good Arizona's defense is. 8 sacks, two fumbles, or 2 to 3 fumbles. I mean, come on now. Like John said, sometimes it was even hard to watch. But you just kept watching, Kept watching and hoping that we can get back in this game, make the score respectable at least. And we get that, excuse me, get that Eddie Lacy touchdown run. You think, okay, maybe we can get this back up. Maybe it can be a final score of 35-21 or something, where at least it seemed like it was close. Even though, you look at the stats, it wasn't. But at least make the score look respectable and actually show what you're made of, especially in those kind of situations. But we didn't, and we lost. We lost 38-8 by 30 points. So the Texans crushing the Titans 34-6. Texans pretty much have a streak of hold in that division. The Colts, like I said, still trying to have everything happen for them to even get in the playoffs, so I doubt that'll happen. Looks like Texans will be in there. The Jaguars losing to the Saints. Now again, Jaguars and the Raiders, two teams that have improved this season. The Jaguars, even last week before going into week 16, had an outside chance of winning their division. So they're definitely on the rise. And, we talk about the drafting of the Jaguars and the Oakland Raiders have definitely done well in the draft. And now you just have to hope that if you're fans of those teams, that they do it again this next year, the 2016 NFL draft, and maybe next year will be your guys' year and your team's year to make it in the postseason, maybe even a postseason run. You never know. You just never know, because I think they can do it, both of them. Jaguars, Raiders. You never know. One of these years could be Jacksonville Jaguars versus Oakland Raiders in the AFC Championship game. But obviously, it's not going to be this year. New York Giants fall flat in their face against the Vikings 49-17. They're out. Everybody's out. Redskins win the division. Cowboys barely had a chance anyways at all. Denver winning again. Brock Osweiler, hopefully, and I just want to say this, hopefully Denver decides to have Brock starting in the postseason. With the Peyton Manning's all right, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And Peyton Manning has his own issues right now that he's dealing with. And that in itself is interesting to say the least. But, I don't know, guys. It's week 17. We're getting into the, talking about the most wonderful time of the year of the NFL season. The ending of the regular season and going into the postseason. The Jets and the Steelers, two teams trying to get into the postseason. I think what's going to happen is the Jets are going to get in, Steelers are going to get out, not going to be in. And, you never know. Jets, again, could be on the roll. You just never know. You just never know of anything, really. You have the Jets and the Chiefs. Yes, the Jets and the Chiefs, technically being wildcard teams, but both making it to the AFC Championship game. You just don't know. That's why they play the games. That's why, as long as you get into the playoffs, you get into the dance, you have a chance to be Super Bowl champions. Just like anything else, as I like to say, you can't win a contest, or you can't win the lottery, or you can't win a Super Bowl unless you get that ticket, or if you make it to, making the postseason at all. Obviously you can't win something without entering. That's just, that definitely is a 0% chance of winning it. Yeah, your chances might be really low winning a lottery, or winning whatever, or winning a contest with the thousands and thousands, like that contest I do every year, trying to win Super Bowl tickets. Every year I do that. And as many of those contests that I can find with different companies and advertising and all this other stuff, I know I have a low percent chance of winning it, but I still do it. Because if you don't enter it, you have no chance at all, obviously. So the same thing with the playoffs, so you never know. It could be the Chiefs and the Jets facing off to battle out for who's going to be the AFC representative in the Super Bowl, to be the NFL champions, Super Bowl 50 champions. And just think about it this way: Super Bowl 50, honoring 50 years of the Super Bowl. 50 years of the Super Bowl. And if my memory serves me correctly, and sometimes it does, sometimes. If my memory serves me correctly, Super Bowl 1 was Green Bay Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Then Super Bowl 2 was Green Bay Packers, the Oakland Raiders. So if we can get our stuff together and the Chiefs keep rolling through the playoffs, we could get Chiefs Packers. And it would come full circle. That would be actually kind of interesting. That'd be an awesome storyline. That'd be something I definitely would be talking up during the Super Bowl week. Well, two reasons. One, my team's in it. Two, rematch Super Bowl 1. And like I said, bring it full circle for Super Bowl 1 to Super Bowl 50. That story will write itself. I'm sure. Excuse me, apologize, but I'm sure NFL media all around about that. And speaking of NFL media, me now being media, maybe in its lowest terms as a YouTube podcast host, but hoping to grow from there, work in sports radio, moving forward, and maybe at some point, me and my big aspirations wanting to be the official podcast of the Green Bay Packers. But then there, I'd specifically be talking Green Bay Packers. But either way, I might actually try to see and find out if I can actually even try to apply. Like I said, you can't get anything without trying, or you can't win a contest without entering. Well, I can't even have a chance to get credentials, media credentials for Super Bowl 50 if I don't find out how to apply. Yeah, they probably will deny me, but hey, can I ask? Heck, sometimes at the past Super Bowls, as I've seen on Media Day, there's media from that aren't even like sports medias. And I don't mean like E-Entertainment or those stuff, because those are awesome. But I mean other, let's say lonely ones, smaller ones that are growing, trying to get their name out, trying to get their company out, trying to do that work. And, doing that networking as well. That's what that is in a way. If I was able to do that, if I was able to get accepted, if I was able to get that media credential, then I'm there. Not just, talking with, NFL athletes, but networking with fellow colleagues, technically, of the media. Whether it's people from the NFL Network, I'm sure, there's actual Packer reporters for for ESPN or for ESPN.com, bloggers and writers for NFL Network, for NBC Sports, CBS Sports, all the sports, all sites and television networks. So, getting the crowd around with other Packer representatives, so to speak, and then NFL, in general. as well. So definitely that would be great if that would be or could be able to happen. But like I always say, you can't get it without asking. So I'm gonna at least try to find out and see how I can apply and see if I could have a 1 in a million chance to get accepted and be able to be there for Super Bowl 50 um, in that capacity. That'd be awesome in itself if that was able to happen. Now I know it's a low percent, but we'll see. Now let's go into Week 17 and my predictions for Week 17, of course, being the final week of the NFL season. So all games will be on Sunday. Noon games all the way to the Sunday Night Football NBC final NBC game. For Sunday Night Football, ESPN does have a playoff game like they did last year. I think they started last year, if not 2 years ago, them having at least one playoff game, and that being the wild card game, and then that's it. Then it goes to NBC, CBS. Excuse me, and yeah, NBC, CBS, and Fox from there. But anyways, first we got the New York Jets, Buffalo Bills. Bills trying to stop the Jets from getting to the playoffs. Rex Ryan, why not him being that to be in the way of the Jets? But I'm gonna go with the Jets over the Bills. 24-10 Jets over Bills. Jets getting into the playoffs, and we'll see how far they can fly from there. Patriots at Dolphins. I got the Patriots over the Dolphins here. Simply, New England get on the roll themselves. Gain that confidence, get that momentum. I have the Patriots over the Dolphins, 38-21. Saints Falcons. Falcons, a team that I thought were supposed to have that division, supposed to, at least be competing with the Panthers, being undefeated and all those stuff with their defense and how they started out themselves, being undefeated for good several weeks, and then they'll finally fly on their face. I have the Saints over the Falcons, 24-21. JB of Team Boy TV Live. I have his Baltimore Ravens against the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals still trying to get that number one seed, outside chance of getting it. The Bengals over the Ravens, 27-17. Ravens could be a spoiler again, but I doubt it this time. Unlike last week, but you never know. Steelers against the Cleveland Browns. I got the Steelers over the Browns, 24-17. Jacksonville Jaguars against the Houston Texans. Texans over Jaguars, 24-7, 24-14. 24-14 Texans over the Jaguars. ME and his Indianapolis Colts against the Tennessee Titans. I have the Colts over the Titans, 34-21. Washington Redskins versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now the Redskins could rest their starters, never know. But I'm still going to go with the Redskins over the Cowboys just because they're a better team overall in general. 17-13 Redskins over Cowboys because, if they rest their starters, that'll be a much closer game. Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants. Eagles got rid of Chip Kelly. They got an interim coach against the Giants team that might be getting rid of their coach at the end of the season. We'll see. I doubt it, but you never know. I mean, then again, he seems like he's always on the hot seat each and every year, and they find a way to keep him. And I like Tom Coughlin. I liked him from the beginning when he first was in the NFL, at least in my memory, when he was the head coach of the expansion Jacksonville Jaguars. Took them to a playoff, won the playoffs. I think they even got to the division. Was it the AFC Championship game or just the next round of divisional playoffs? But either way, Jaguars. That's the furthest they've gotten in a long time, and really the only time for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So hopefully he stays. Hopefully he doesn't get released on the Black Monday, as I called it, the day after Week 17. But we'll see. Getting this win will help. So what have you done for me lately, kind of league? Well, if he gets a win for you lately, in the last game of the regular season, then I say keep him. They got a lot of hope in that team, and they just got hit with some bad bumps along the way. It happens. I got the Giants over the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm gonna go 28-21. Lions, Bears. I had the Lions winning on the road against Chicago, 24-14. And I got Danny Duncan, his Tampa Bay Buccaneers, against Big Q of Team Point TV Live, the host of Team Point TV Live, and the Black and Blue podcast, for talking about his Carolina Panthers specifically. His Carolina Panthers against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this game's going to be much closer than you think. I think Tampa Bay will have a chance in near the end to actually get the win. Excuse me, but I do see Carolina getting the win in the end. 35-34, Panthers over the Buccaneers. We got the Oakland Raiders. We got Louie Tee and the Washington Redskins. They're defeating the Dallas Cowboys, as I said earlier. But Raider Central and his Oakland Raiders. Mikey Raider of Raider Central and his Oakland Raiders against the Kansas City Chiefs. I get the Chiefs over the Raiders. Chiefs still rolling strong. 35-17. Chiefs over Raiders. Chargers and Broncos. I got Broncos over the Chargers. It's sad how bad the Chargers season has been, but again, it is what it is. I got the Broncos over the Chargers, 24-13. Seattle Seahawks versus the Arizona Cardinals. Well, after seeing what Arizona did to Green Bay, I think they can do even worse to Seattle. But I do think Arizona's going to be getting the win. And if Tampa Bay can beat the Carolina Panthers, then the Arizona Cardinals are going to be the number one seed in the NFC, and that is a scary thought just in general, because Arizona, they're a good team, and if they get home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs, you best believe that percentage of them getting to the Super Bowl goes up even further than it already is. I had the Arizona Cardinals over the Seattle Seahawks. 42-24. Rams and 49ers. We'll go with the Rams. Blaine Gabbert actually been playing well. They're coming in for Colin Kaepernick. Kaepernick could be going to the Eagles. But then again, Chip Kelly got fired, so maybe that ain't going to happen. Johnny Manziel's not going to Philadelphia. Chip Kelly might not be a head coach next year. And you know what? Fine. He's not a head coach next year. He was too stubborn, too selfish, too whatever that he was with Philadelphia. And not only did that rub the Eagles the wrong way, I'm sure maybe even other franchises the wrong way, because you're not going to have a head coach in your system and on your team that has the mindset and the personality that way. Oh yeah, you want a strong-willed coach, sure, but him goes a little too far. Stubborn and that much in that way. Maybe it's okay for him to be away from the NFL for a while. Maybe if he wants to go back to college, fine. But from what I heard, there's not too many big college openings anymore that are left for Chip Kelly to pursue. But anyways, I got the Rams over the 49ers on 27-24. And the game of the night, game of the week, game of the century, well, maybe just the game of the week. The Minnesota Vikings traveling to Lambeau Field, Sunday Night Football on NBC, the final one of the season, the regular season. I'm going to pick my Packers, but I'm not going to be surprised if Minnesota wins. They're a good team. Done well this year. And we'll have to see what happens. But I'm going to pick my Packers. Have them become the NFC North champions. And get a victory here, of course. 35-28. Packers, game-winning touchdown. Let's say with 2 minutes, but after the 2-minute warning or whatever. Well, actually, then that won't be a game winner. I go game-winning touchdown last seconds of the game, sort of thing. Or however, we get the win. And the division. And then we face Minnesota again. The next week. Then I'll be talking about that in next week's episode. Those are my predictions, my thoughts, and those are your NFL news and notes as well. Thank you to everybody that watched live. We'll be watching the archives. Again, I will have Louie Tee's link in the description below this video. Definitely check it out. Click on it. Subscribe to his channel. Subscribe to mine, of course. While you're still here, because I like to do a lot of NFL talk when I get to the Super Bowl week. When we get to Super Bowl 50 week, honoring 50 years of the Super Bowl, I might actually be doing more videos talking about the history of the Super Bowl and all of those stuff. and then my preview of Super Bowl 50 that week, and then the review of Super Bowl 50 the week after. I definitely hope to have a jam-packed list of guests on the show. I reached out to a lot of people, and we'll see who can be able to make it. I mean, I know I can rattle off a lot of them that hopefully maybe they'll be able to watch this. One being maybe EDP, fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, Philadelphia, the Mighty E-Rock, and the Heartstring, fans of the Eagles. There's also Tyrone Haynes is a fan. My friends of Main Event Marks, also Cooter, my clone, um, ME, he's a Colts fan, but hey, Louie Tee Network would be nice to have him on as well. So hopefully I can have a jam-packed episode for those two episodes. When we get to that point, we can have it full here on the Hangout, which is 10 people, 9 including me, the host. So 10 total people talking NFL, talking, previewing the Super Bowl, talking, Super Bowls of the past. That'd be a jam-packed and awesome episode, for me to host and for my subscribers and fans of the show to watch. It's that time of year, getting close to the postseason. I know it's postseason for a lot of the other teams, but the postseason, the ones your team going to the playoffs. Congratulations. Anything can happen at that point. You just never know. Now, one thing I do know is there will be Super 50 to be in Santa Clara, California, and hopefully maybe I'll have a chance to be there. But anyways, thanks to everybody that watched. Have a great day. Hope everybody did have a Merry Christmas. I hope you all have a Happy New Year and a New Year's weekend as well. And as always, take care.